Okay, good afternoon. Hope everybody's fine. Okay, just figured I'd get on here and show you all the very beginning stages of what I would consider from scratch. I'll explain this and then I'll turn the camera so we can see what I'm doing here on this table. What I've got is I've got a mess on the bench. Okay. What I'm doing is I've got a couple clients that I am doing some knife work for. It's kind of special, but all my clients are. Anyway, what I'm doing is I designed a knife for this gentleman, and I got exactly what I think he's gonna like, which is this. It's something similar to the community knife, but it's a little different. It's narrower here in the blade. It's not quite as long. It's not quite as beefy. I mean, it's still a nice knife, but it's just a little different shape. What I'm doing is I'm making this an everyday carry, okay? So you can carry this. Now what I want to do is I want to design a knife similar to this, but in a smaller scale to fit a smaller hand, not weigh as much. Because the person that's going to carry the other knife, the smaller knife, is going to be carrying it on a cross draw rig like this, so they can access it. Okay? You don't want this big knife. You can do this, cross draw it, no problem. Either way. So what we're going to do is start from scratch. We're going to use this as a template. I'm going to lay this down on this piece of cardboard and I'm going to trace it out. That's going to give me some guidelines to rework the overall shape and size of the knife to come up with something a little bit smaller, more compact. So that's what we're going to do, start from scratch. Now usually I can do this without using a guideline to go by, but we want the other knife to be similar to this. So we're going to use this as a pattern to start it with. So let me turn y'all and get you turned over here and get you zoomed in. What are we doing here? Oh yeah, there we go. Oh yeah. Get you just about like that right there. Well, I've got an old piece of cardboard here. It's nothing fancy. Nothing fancy at all. It's just an old piece of cardboard for a template. As a matter of fact, I can cut this down. I don't need all this. And when I get done, I'm going to cut it out. And I'm going to use it as a template. So I don't need all of that. That's pretty rough. Let's use the other piece. Okay. Now, I got me a piece of cardboard here. I'll lay this blade down on it, trace it out, like so. I could use a pencil, but I'd rather use a magic marker. I've got some here. We'll pull one out, and we'll trace it out all the way around, like so. What this is going to do, it's just going to save me some time in trying to freehand everything, and it will give it a similar shape as this knife. So we'll lay that to the side. Now we've got a template we can go by. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to downsize this, okay? So I'll come in here and I know that my handle's going to be a little fat. So what I'll do is I'll come in here like this, and I know I want a little bit thinner blade, so I'll come above these lines and I'll thin this out. I'm just taking some weight off of it, basically what I'm doing. And we're going to just thin this thing down, shorten it up a little bit. I like the backbone, so we're going to keep the backbone. Okay. Let it run into here. Maybe give that a little bit of thickness in here. Come in here, come a little bit higher. Then I'm going to run this edge in here like this. And I'm going to start my curve early, okay? What that's going to do is that's going to allow me to shorten up the length of this knife. And then I'll come in here and I'll do a little bit more drop, okay? So I basically have the same shaped knife, but it's dimension-wise, it's a lot smaller. If you start taking away all this material, you end up with a knife that is lighter, shorter, more compact. Not any less to handle, it's just for a smaller hand and a smaller person. If we don't like this, what I'll do is I'll cut it rough, and then when I cut the steel out, I'll shape it to fit the way I want it to fit when we get that far. So basically want to add, we'll add a thong hole because I know they're going to want to put a lanyard in it, and then we'll drop 3 pinholes in it. And we'll probably come in here and shape this handle like this. And our ricasso or plunge line will be about right here. And it'll probably come into about right here like so. So that's how I do a rough sketch of a knife. I've done so many of them. So that is completely different from that, but it's similar. It's just on a smaller scale. It's got more of a drop point in it. It's shorter. It's thinner in the handle. So what I'll do now is I'll take a razor blade and I'll cut this out, and then we'll put it on a piece of steel. And we'll cut it and grind it out. And then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Awesome. Just a little bit of information I thought y'all would like to have shared. All right, I've got this pattern cleaned up, ready to lay down on a piece of steel. So that's what we're gonna do. Get you focused in on the bench there. There's my pattern. I just use a, pick it up, razor blade. Now that we got our pattern the way we want it, let's pick out an old saw blade here, a small one that I think will work just fine. It's a little bit small.
Do you have a flashlight?
Do I have a what?
A flashlight?
Yeah, it's upstairs on the counter by the coffee pot, darling.
Thank you.
It's a little bit small for a community knife, and it's not laminated, and I think it would be a good candidate for this. So we'll take and lay that down. We'll lay the template on it, and I think that's going to work just fine. Now, if I do this right, I might be able to use that hole that's in that bar. Excuse me. It's already got a hole in it for my thong hole too. So if we line that up like so, And we're going to be into the groove on the bar. So what I need to do is rotate that. I might not be able to do that for the simple fact that it's going to get me in the groove of my chain. So, and this is what I'm talking about, the groove for the bar and the groove for the chain is pretty deep. Sometimes these grooves can go quite a ways into the bar. Here we go. Let's just use this scraper. This will tell you exactly how deep. It's probably got trash in it. It does. That'll give us an idea just where we can position it. Now, I may just end up drilling a hole. We're not going to spend 6 days, you know what I mean, on trying to get that hole to work. But this, I can set that in there, and then I can set that up there. So that tells me that that's not going to work. So all I'll do is I'll lay that pattern down, center it on the bar best I can right there, and then we'll trace it out. That should work perfectly. So we'll trace the pattern onto the steel. This is what makes these chainsaw bars so nice. Now, I don't like how thin this is down here. You notice how thin that handle is right here. What I'd like to do is open that up just a little bit, so it's in proportion with the size of the blade, okay? So I'll leave that part undone, and I'll do that free-handed. I think it'll be more custom that way. Of course, it already is, but I'd like to come up in here just a little bit more rounded and drop it down just a little bit more, and give it a little bit of girth in the rear end. Round it over, you know, just a little bit more. I think that will be much better. Then I have more room for my thong hole tube and my pins. So I've got it blanked out on the steel. We'll go ahead and we'll cut this out, and I'll clean it up, and then we'll get back and I'll let you see what it looks like. I'm not going to show you all the grinding and cutting. We all know grinding and cutting. So I'm just trying to show you the process of what I do to get to where I go. So let's cut this out. Yep, that's what I do right there. Grinding wheel, mounting device, cut it off. Awesome. There's Big Brother. And there's its little sister. So what I've got this in a smaller version. It's a little bit different in handle, but you can see it's a lot smaller. And when I get done with it, I'll refine it even better. But this is definitely an old repurposed bar. Very good steel. And it ground out really good. And I'll prove that it's a bar if you'll look right here. You can see, well, hard to see, but it says Oregon 23148 PX 1/4 inch right in there. Very difficult to see, and I apologize for that. But it does say it there. You might be able to make it out, Oregon. Very difficult with that glare. and the focus. Let me back up a minute. Still difficult, but that's it. That's how I blank them out. And I'll do the file work and grinding and the recost. I put all the work starts now, so it'll make a nice knife. Fits good in the hand. Very comfortable. Well, I appreciate y'all visiting my knife shop today. I just wanted to show you all exactly what went on, how I start them from scratch. Let's see how close our blank is. See, you can see I went by it, but not totally. I mean, I've added some material in the handle here and added a little bit in the blade, but overall, I'll keep that and I'll write the person's name on it. And we will have a record of it. And from now on, if I ever need to go back and make another one, I've got a copy. And I won't have to start over. These are 2 knives for 2 customers out west. I hope they will enjoy these knives. This one will have a over-the-shoulder sheath that's slung like this, and this one, of course, will be carried on the hip. They'll both be nice. Appreciate y'all hanging with me today, but I wanted you to see that step in the process of how I go from an old chainsaw bar like this, drawing out the knife. See, that's a lot bigger than the community knife. Community knife is a whole lot bigger. I just wanted you to see the process. Y'all be safe. Watch Top Knot, and God bless you. I'll get to getting. Thank y'all for coming by.